right, my name is Alexia Ginter, and I did a research study upon the relation between trust and transparency at Quincy in the time of COVID-19. I really got motivation for this as I'm a fellow student here, and I was hearing a lot of rumors and speculations after new COVID-19 policies were released that students were upset about it. So instead of just listening to rumors and speculating, I figured let's do an actual study and research about how students are feeling about this issue and do it in a scientific way. So when I first started, I did overall research about other universities if they had done this. In general, it was kind of like broad things where they had found that only 37% of people trust higher education institutions, and then how the way to fix this is to have more transparency. And then there were smaller studies I found in community colleges that the more transparency a president had with its professors and the students at the university, the more trust the professors reported. So then I delved into the more specifics here at QU. So with my study, I went to 3 different locations. I went to the library, the gym, and the cafeteria to try to get different areas of the population here. There was 47 students, I keep saying 47, 40 students who volunteered to do the survey. And the survey was based pretty much on Likert questions. There was 12 of them, and Likert scale questions are usually like a 1 to 7, 1 to 10, report how you feel about this question, or do you do this often? Do you do this little? And they were given just a hand paper, so we were right there. It wasn't over the mail, it wasn't an online survey. And some of the questions were, how transparent is Quincy University with current happenings on campus? How much do you trust Quincy University? And students were informed of policy changes after the school year started. Did this impact your trust in the university? And to talk about the policies for a second so we kind of understand what we're talking about, for especially on-campus students, there was a degree of different changes that were made in the handbook about kind of like residential life, how classes were going to be handled, what radius you could leave campus without permission, things like that. And they were informed of them around the first week we got here, but they weren't informed ahead of time, so everyone was moved in before they found out. So after I got all the data, I actually found that there was an extremely strong correlation between transparency and trust. Correlation was 0.63, and the p was less than alpha, which pretty much just means that there's a strong positive correlation, and with the p that this data was not founded by chance. This is actually an occurrence. There is a correlation. And then with this, there happened to be a standard deviation with the transparency and the trust, and it just pretty much means that the more the student believed the QU was transparent, the more they trusted them. And then the less they believed that they were transparent, the less they trusted. So it influx. It's a positive correlation. One goes up, the other goes up. One goes down, the other goes down. However, there were some very interesting things that came out of my study that I necessarily did not expect to come out of it. 100% of students believe that they should have been informed of the QU policies ahead of time with the new COVID-19. And then 75% of students reported that QU willingly withholds information from the student population. And then even this was honestly the most surprising in this part right here, was that 90% of students reported that they would have returned to the university if they were notified of the policies ahead of time. However, 10% of the students said that they would leave. Of that 10%, 75% of these students were African American. This is extremely huge of a certain population to report that they would not come back. And then kind of less things were that this is more observational, but when collecting data, freshmen and seniors reported lower levels of trust in the university. And 75% reported their trust in QU was impacted in some form. So with the implications of this, it's pretty much that the more transparent Quincy University can be, the more trust they can get from students. This can help with possible student enrollment in the future. This can help with just student relations with the university. And with limitation-wise, it's really, really important that we should look at this more in depth with the impact on minority students. This limitation came about whenever this statistic was drawn, where 10% would not come back, and of that, 75%. Now, this correlation doesn't always mean causation. However, I do believe that a study should be run in the future that looks at why there's such a disconnect between Quincy University and people of color and minorities on campus. Because we are here for their quality of life, and this is the best 4 years that we'll have. So we really need to find out what's causing this reported lower trust. So, is there any questions? Mm-hmm.
What would you do in your follow-up studies to track those students at risk that weren't at risk?
I would definitely, so I did kind of just, kind of like a, not random assignment, but where you just have people by random and you're at like different locations and they can volunteer to do the survey. Instead, I would target everyone that is a minority or person of color on campus and ask if they would volunteer to do the survey to specifically look at them and how they feel. Because statistically speaking, they are less of a population on campus. So if you do like just a random volunteer, it will be harder to draw those statistics. So if you specifically ask them to do this, we'd be able to find more concrete data that can delve more into depth and ask maybe even open-ended questions like, why do you have lower trust? Or is there an incident that has impacted your trust? Instead of just Likert scale questions, it can find more in-depth reasons and issues.